You're listening to Scheduling Sin with me, Snowmill. So as we kind of come to a close, what are you most grateful for in this whole journey?
Hands down, the people we've met.
Yeah.
Hands down. Well, hello, Mrs. Snow.
Well, hello, Mr. Snow.
How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm really, really well. This is a great week.
This has been a great week. We had a great weekend, and it's a holiday week, and I decided to take the week off of work, and you're home, and so we're having some just good quality time and a lot of fun and a lot of laughs. But I think we're also taking some time to really reflect,
Yeah.
and
It's
think
a good
back.
week for that.
Yeah, it's a good week for that, and it's been some of the things that we've talked about have really kind of made me think back and really reflect upon our journey with this. And we kind of thought it'd be nice to kind of have a conversation about it on our podcast about kind of our journey and the fact that, when you sat down at breakfast and you literally listed all of the things that we've kind of done over the last 11 months, I was like, wow, that's a lot of things.
It's a lot. Especially too, I kind of had this idea to do sort of a look back episode like this, but I initially had in mind to do it probably like at the end of the year. Like that kind of seemed like a logical time to do it. But here we are. This is Thanksgiving week here in the US for all of our UK listeners. This is Thanksgiving week here in the US. And as I was contemplating kind of like you said, our journey and where we've come and all that stuff, it occurs to me how grateful I am to a lot of people as we kind of look back on that. It's sort of our journey. It's our path. It's all the things that you and I have done. But every single thing that you and I have done in this arena has involved other people.
Right. But I think it also helps me realize how grateful I am for us.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, we're kind of the root of it, and
well, we've evolved a lot.
We have, and I'm grateful for the conversations that we've had. I'm grateful for the laughs that we've had, just the experiences that we've shared, and that we've done it together. And it's funny, and we've talked about it's easy to take your partner for granted. It's easy, when you get in this whirlwind of life, when you have family and kids and work and other obligations, that you just kind of get you could easily get in this very monotonous, just, what's the word I want?
Kind of a rut.
Yeah, just a rut, but you just get very complacent.
Yeah.
And I have to, and you talked a lot about this just kind of throughout the last several weeks in a lot of areas of our life, but trying to purposely take pause.
Yeah.
Like purposely just stop and recognize where we are, where we've come, and just try to be grateful and thankful for what we do have. 'Cause it's so easy to get bogged down in things that we don't have, or things that are not going well, or things that we don't like, or we can bitch all day long that the Starbucks lady fucks up my order, what I mean? And it's like, holy shit, like just take a step back and realize that we are so incredibly fortunate in our lives. We're so incredibly fortunate with our families. And I feel like we've kind of embarked on this new level of, we're so grateful for this hobby, this naughty podcast that we have, and this community and the support and the people that we've kind of built these relationships with. So it's kind of overwhelming sometimes when you stop and think about all of it, but it's been so great, and it's been so fun. And the feedback that we've gotten from our listeners, the feedback we've gotten from some of our UK friends, it's just been so humbling, and
it has.
It's been wonderful.
So let's rewind and look at just this last year. So we're recording this. Today is November 20th.
Okay.
It is just a few days before Thanksgiving.
Right.
And starting on January 1 of this calendar year.
It was like a New Year's resolution. We're gonna
Yeah.
do something fun.
We're going to do a lot of really crazy things. No, we, so how, okay, so here's how this all started. All this craziness that we're involved in right now. It started, I was on a business trip in Kansas City in a hotel room, and we decided to start a Pornhub account.
Yeah. Well,
because that's what you do. You have COVID.
you have COVID.
So
yeah,
you start
okay.
a Pornhub account.
Sure. I mean, that I see
assume
the
that's
leap
what
there.
everybody that got COVID did.
Did Pornhub like blow up during COVID? Well, it probably blew up for a lot of reasons.
No, it did. Probably more OnlyFans, but even still. So that's what we did. So we started a Pornhub account.
Well, let's back up a little bit even more. You and I have made videos
Oh, yeah.
for quite a while.
Oh, I have videos all the way back to probably 2007, 8, something like that.
Yeah. That's probably not too far off. So you and I have, I mean, you had, I say you, I'm going to put it on you because why not? You have quite the little spank bank.
Oh, I
and
do.
you have the library. And we have made a lot of amateur, just random videos.
Just for us, though.
Just for
Like,
us.
we weren't.
There was never any intention to share
In fact,
it.
in the very beginning,
Yeah.
of course, you record all this stuff with your phone, right?
Well,
Because
right.
it's,
Yeah.
year 2000.
Mhm.
And so the rules were very, very clear.
You
and
take it off
very
your phone.
specific. It has to be off. And she would spot check me.
I
She'd
would.
be like, let me see your phone.
Yeah, because like I didn't want it to be stolen. I didn't want someone because inevitably you hand your phone to somebody to show you something and then they swipe. Why? First of all, why do people do that? That is so rude.
I'll tell you what. So, side note on this, and I think I might have mentioned it. I don't know if I mentioned it in another podcast or not, but we were at a completely vanilla function. and she was like, hey, let's take a picture while we're here.
Because we're all dressed up.
Give your phone to this like dear work friend of mine to take a picture. And I'm like, I don't know if that's a good idea because I get notifications of a very specific variety.
Yeah, well, my Discord picture is the picture of my ass and
Yeah.
my little red panties.
So-
and so anytime I get a message, it pops up.
Right. So you might be a swinger if you have to put your phone in airplane mode to hand it to someone else.
Yeah,
So that's
there.
where we are now. But at the time, we were very restricted, very G-rated on the pictures.
Right.
And we just did that for a really long time.
Yeah, we had a lot of pictures and they were not great videos.
No.
I mean, it was really, I think it was just more the thrill of it than the actual content of it per se.
Well, and I have, so the premise has always been, for one thing, I really enjoy doing it. And Mrs. Snow enjoys showing off.
I do. And I know, and the other, I think part of the reason why this came about is because you travel a lot.
Exactly.
I kind of wanted you to have like your own little personal spank bank.
Exactly. So,
Because I'm a good wife.
yeah, you're an excellent, you're a model wife. So
Clearly.
we did this for a long time. And then we decided to do the Pornhub thing. And it was very exciting. I suggested it. I could not believe that you were so excited about going along with it.
Sometimes it's a blur. Sometimes when you ask me to do things,
We
like, "Meh."
first started talking about it and you're like, well, I don't know. Let me think about it. And then a little while later, you're like, I'm getting really, really wet thinking about this.
Yeah. I mean, I think it really just reinforced that exhibitionist side.
Oh,
Of us.
absolutely.
And because we weren't really able to go to a club, this was kind of the next best thing. Like,
It was kind of a way for us to be that exhibitionist.
yeah.
And it was a fun outlet for that.
Mm-hmm.
Up to that point, we had only been to a club 3 times.
Yeah. A couple times.
And we had no in-person meets with anybody like separately. We did do the SLS website thing a year before.
And I think we had dinner with like a couple or
We actually met Misty and Lee,
we did.
but
did.
we met them in a bar,
Yeah.
and it just, I mean,
By nature of the fact of what it just
it didn't go anywhere, but not for anybody's fault. We just were not in a place to be doing it
Yeah.
at that time, and we
Yeah.
just kind of backed away from it all.
Right.
And then we reconnected with them, obviously, later.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. Like at that night, a year before all of this nonsense took place, we met Misty and Lee in a bar. And if we had known that night, hey, in a year and a half from now,
We're gonna be
you're
standing
going to
in our
be in your
living
living
room
room
with a clone of Willie.
and a bunch of microphones trying to make a paper mache copy of your cock.
Silicone.
So, well, it ended up being silicone. I guess, yeah, right. But whatever. So like I couldn't believe that. But
again, the journey that we've had in the last 11 months is kind of crazy.
It's kind of mind-blowing. So okay, so that's where we were. We started Pornhub and we started putting these videos on Pornhub.
And it became to be such a fun, like, do you want to make some content today?
Yes.
And we ended up redoing our so we have a guest room that served as my office during COVID. And we very much used it as an office. And then we decided we needed a guest room just for family visits and stuff. But I think there was an ulterior motive that this guest room also turned into our recording studio pretty quickly, because we were very quick to not put anything identifying on the walls.
Right.
Like there are no pictures of the kids. There's no pictures of the family, like nothing. It is a very hotel-esque guest room.
I was just about to say, it is practically a hotel room. It's perfect.
Yeah. So we were recording, and then Mr. Snow, because Mr. Snow is a gadget guy.
Oh yeah.
He is a gadget guy, and so he decided to get like these lights and these camera mounts.
Amazon is your best friend.
Oh my God. And it just I mean, it's pretty fun.
I have these little light cubes.
Oh yeah, the ones that you could do different shades of the colors.
They can do like different colors and stuff. So this whole thing really unleashed for me my creative side, starting with the Pornhub stuff, but even now kind of through the podcast and into the website and all that. Like I do have this like really creative side, but I really don't in my ordinary life have a particular outlet for it.
Yeah.
And I have never, here's my thing with creativity and photography and all that stuff, building things, whatever. I have this weird, it's just a hang up of mine. It's this notion of, well, what am I going to do with it? You know, I'm going to create this image. Like imagine a puzzle, right? You're going to sit down for some amount of time and you're going to put a puzzle together. And that's going to sort of be fun to do and all that. But then what do you do with it?
Right.
What do you just take it apart and throw it back in the box? Like that seems super anticlimactic. And then what do you okay, instead if you're not going to do that, you frame it and hang it on the wall.
So that has turned into let's make content.
Let's make porn.
Let's make porn. Makes total sense. Yep. But I totally see where that jump happened.
Yeah. But where this works though is like in the creation of our amateur porn and in the creation of the podcast and the website and stuff. It's like stuff that people can use. It's useful.
It's useful. Okay.
I might be reaching a little, but like this is things that like
useful. I think
several
purposes.
Thousand people found
God.
our amateur porn useful.
Useful in air quotes. I mean, we've had that conversation. How do you remember how many views we had? What were you up to? I don't even know.
Several thousand, but
we had probably about a dozen videos.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we only did it for probably 4 or 5 months.
We didn't do it for very long.
And we weren't like putting out content like all the time.
We didn't have like a crazy ton of video. I think it was like 10,000 or 15,000 or something like that, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we had probably about 10 or 12 videos. And some were specifically meant, like we made specifically for.
Yeah.
Pornhub.
The first couple videos that we did were actually, they were like out of the vault, so to speak.
Out of the vault, yes.
Right. And then we actually started doing videos specifically with Pornhub in mind.
Correct.
And those were really good.
Yeah.
# free the thumb drive. And so we did that. And the comments we got were great. They were a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. I got several offers to be like a sugar baby.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
There was one guy that wanted to meet me in person and basically wanted me to like just go to a hotel room with him, but not have sex with me. He just wanted to like.
He wanted you to pose for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. He wanted you to go to a hotel room with him. He swore up and down that he would not touch you.
Right.
He just wanted you to pose in like various outfits for him.
Yeah.
Which I get it. I mean, I'd take you to the hotel room and do that with you.
I mean,
it's a little bit creepy to ask.
I mean,
But like,
I would
get
do it for you, but you know, we have a little history together, right?
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
I don't
there's-
like randomly like, you know what I mean?
there's-
I'm not like there's not this rando that's like, I want to take you to a hotel room and put you in outfits. Like that's fucking creepy, right?
It is creepy, especially when you say it in that voice.
Well, that's how I interpret
That's how
most
you
porn
right. That's,
voices.
that's how you read that. Yeah, no,
I
I
mean,
get it.
you don't
I
read
get
that in
it.
a happy, jolly voice, right? Like,
Hey, excuse me there.
excuse me. Hello. I would love to see you prance around
would
with this outfit.
Yeah, I would like to
No.
take you to a hotel room and jack off to your body.
That's a husky voice. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
There's cigarettes involved.
Yeah. Okay. So that was that. And
So we did that. So we released probably a dozen videos. We had a lot of comments, which really kind of fueled some of that. Like this is fun.
it did in the beginning.
Yeah.
The comments that we got, first of all, we never got a nasty comment, which
No.
was surprising. And because I mean, we're not Ken and Barbie, we're not perfect.
Right.
But nobody was nasty to us, which is cool. But the what we started to notice kind of right away, two things. The comments became very repetitive.
Yeah.
You know, she has great tits, or she has a great ass, or I would like to fuck her, or, you know, variations of those three things pretty much.
Which, when you think about it, what other comments do you want from porn?
Well, right. And that's kind of it. And we talked about this whole thing like back when we talked about why we're not doing it anymore. But it was not that sort of interactive experience that we were looking for. And
Right.
because for us, the goal of this has never been like to make a bunch of money or to drive up 1 million clicks or whatever. The goal was exhibitionism.
Right.
But exhibitionism, it's interesting about that. Like exhibitionism as a fetish, you feel like on the surface, it seems like, well, the whole fetish is just knowing people are watching. In my opinion, that feedback is a part of it.
Well, it's watching people watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, yeah. So the problem with the Pornhub thing is, although you were getting some feedback, it wasn't really what we wanted.
And it didn't always, I don't want to say it didn't seem sincere. I don't know. Maybe sincere is the right word. Like it just didn't always seem very real.
Yeah.
I mean, well, I'm going to say this and then I'm going to be like, well, duh. But like, it just seemed like all about fucking me, which, I mean, it's porn. Like,
Right.
duh. Like,
Well,
what else would it be?
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. So it's kind of like, you know, we enjoyed doing it. It kind of scratched the itch a little bit for that. And then
That's when we started joking about doing a podcast.
Right.
Because when we were talking about it,
right.
we were talking about videos and this interaction with people. And I think that was part of kind of where that thought began. I mean, aside from the fact that you and I just have fun talking to each other and kind of bantering. But
well, and that's where the name Snow MILF came from, because Snow MILF was your porn name.
Correct.
Snow MILF was your amateur porn name.
Do you know it used to be that like it was your middle name and your first pet's name?
Hey, do you know what mine is? So people say like it's your middle name and the street you grew up on. Mine is David Deepwood.
Yeah, I'm Jeanette Holland.
Yeah, see, mine's way better.
Well, yeah, because you live on Deepwood.
I do.
Like,
But okay, so we did that. Then we kind of started the podcast, and we
which is
initially
probably in like February, right?
And well, yeah, it was about that time. But see, initially here, this is kind of the funny thing about that. The evolution of where the podcast started, in my mind, was that it was going to be sort of like in the same universe as the amateur porn stuff, which is why the title is Scheduling Sin with Snow MILF,
Right.
and not like Mr. and Mrs. Snow.
Right.
Because at the time, I personally envisioned it as being like a dual thing. Like we had our amateur porn stuff
Mm-hmm.
and we had the podcast stuff. And I pictured that we would do both of them sort of simultaneously. And so like one supported the other. And we kind of did that for a little while.
Yeah, but I think it is very much evolved.
It has evolved.
And this
right?
is our announcement that Scheduling Sin will now be with the Snows.
Well, I've considered that. Like, should we change the name? Like,
yeah.
because going to, and we're going to fast forward in the story a little bit, but like to where we are right now, what is all of this? Well, this is a podcast, but as much as anything else, it's kind of slowly becoming a community as well.
Yeah. And if you would have told me, like, again, 11 months ago that we had gone from not doing anything related to the lifestyle or this type of community. It's just insane.
It is. It's totally insane. So like the question is, do we change the name a little bit? Do we drop the with Snow MILF part? Or do we just kind of go with like just leave it alone? I think we kind of leave it alone because that's what people know it as. And I also don't know.
Well, I think Scheduling Sin's gonna stay.
Well, definitely. And in the ways of the internet, if you if you change the name, does it confuse the Googles? I don't know. I have no idea. I guess I could research that. But so this is one thing I don't know if we've ever talked about is the origin of the name Snow MILF.
Yeah.
Because we are Mr. and Mrs. Snow.
Yes.
Snow MILF. And people say, well, where did Snow MILF come from? Well, it was snowing.
It was
and
snowing.
she's a MILF.
Right. And we live where it snows. And there, and also we had quite a naughty photo shoot in the snow.
We did.
You know, for those of you who live in places where it snows and gets cold, like there are rare days that it's, you know, like 40 and snow, or like, you know, 35 and snowing. So it's not freezing cold.
Right.
And it was sunny.
Yes.
The light was gorgeous.
It was actually,
so there was snow on the ground.
It was like Christmas card snow.
It really was. It was like perfect. And initially he was like, let's take some photos. I was like, no, I don't want to. And then he said to me, when else are we going to have a day like this where we have the availability to do it where we were? And the lighting was perfect and we had the space. I mean, like everything lined up, and it was kind of like, yeah, okay, I have to just do it for the sake of the pictures. And they came out pretty good.
They came out really good.
And part of that's the snow, I think.
She is outside
naked.
Completely naked.
But I was wearing my muck boots
you
because
had your
it was cold.
Boots and your little coat. Although the coat came off.
Coat came off, but it was I didn't want to go out and like it was several inches of snow on the ground, so I was like,
her nips were so hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was very exhilarating. It was very fun.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's kind of like where the origin of the whole Snow MILF thing came from. But then
it did.
So then we started the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And the podcast, when like we've said with everything else, it's just us just trying to goof off and have fun. And we didn't know anybody would get into this. And we started.
Like we did like 3 episodes. I'm like, what the hell else are we going to talk about?
I know. And it just never stops. But we started to notice with the podcast that people were listening, and that especially, I think what really tripped it was once the podcast started appearing in like Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and
it's like real,
and it's also pretty public at that point.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of available to be found at that point.
Correct.
And we both kind of started and said, you know, when you do these things, there's always the chance that you'll be, you know, found out.
Yeah.
Right. And do we really want the Pornhub part
associated with it
to be as out there?
Right.
And that was, we made a decision together. I dragged my feet a little bit just in sadness.
But he still has all of the videos. Like, don't act like you had to delete everything.
Well, that's true.
You still have the vault.
I have the thumb drive. So,
right. Which you're going to auction off one day.
Yeah, right. That's going to be our big annual fundraiser. No, so we kind of decided, okay, so maybe we should shut the Pornhub stuff down.
Yeah.
And we did. So we took all the content off of Pornhub. And I know once something's on the internet, it's on the internet forever and blah, 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 blah. I get all that. But it does make it harder to find.
Right.
When you take it down. I'm not saying that someone could not discover it. I guess that's possible, right? But like it's less available.
Right.
Is kind of the thing. So we took that down. And then we just kind of pressed on with the podcast.
Yeah.
And that was all starting in probably the beginning of the summer that we did that.
Right. And I will say, kind of while we had we had a lot going on initially in January, February, before we kind of got to the point where we decided to take the Pornhub stuff down, because we had been on SLS.
Yeah.
We had our first meetup.
Yes.
With a single male.
Right.
And so it was just, there was so much going on. It was very exciting.
Right.
And it was very intense.
It was. And
like
so,
looking back, there was a lot going on.
Right. And back to like the kind of the gratitude side of like the theme of this conversation,
Yeah.
going back to our first meetup,
Yeah.
um, we were very lucky and we are now very grateful for the fact that this person that we met up with was great.
He was. He was incredibly respectful. He was not bad to look at by any means. He was just funny and kind, and he we had a lot of fun.
We did.
And I thoroughly enjoyed that experience.
Yes, you did. But he played by the rules.
Yeah.
He involved me. We were very, very lucky. You know, I've had conversations with other folks who, you know, talked about some of their first lifestyle experiences, some of which were a little rocky.
Right.
You know, I had one person tell me, can't say this without laughing. It's horrible, but the way he said it. So he and his wife met up with a single male. No, they swapped. It was a couple swap.
Yeah.
And they had all talked ahead of time. And they had explained their boundaries and the rules and everything else. And the way that this guy said it was that the other male with his wife kamikazed her asshole.
Here's a free piece of advice to single males or couple, like any male. Let's just say any male. Don't kamikaze an asshole without, I don't know, being pretty upfront about what your goal and plan is. Right? It's rude. It's beyond rude. Like,
oh my God.
gosh.
So yeah, but that was their first experience, and of course, right after he did that, I mean, everything
doesn't
stopped.
leave a good taste in your mouth or asshole.
Everything stopped. She's jumping up. She's putting clothes on. She's upset. You know,
Yeah.
everybody's upset. And that was kind of their first experience. And I've heard so many horror stories of first experiences just going sideways. And we're really grateful that we just got lucky. Ours did not. Our person was excellent. And so that was our first experience. And we've talked about it here on the show.
And if he still listens, we are grateful for you, and we're grateful for you introducing us to a lot of, I mean, that experience, but also I think it started the whole concept and the whole dynamic of this hot wife. I think it really kind
for
of,
sure. That was our first hot wife.
it really
experience.
was. And so yeah. So thank you.
We've taken a lot from that experience. We learned a lot, and I think in a weird way, we're still learning stuff from that particular experience.
I agree. Well, especially as you know, we've had other experiences and other with single males, and so you don't realize what you have until you have
Right.
other experiences to kind
Right.
of compare it to and build that perspective. And so, I mean, we were very fortunate, and that was such a great experience.
Right. So then moving forward, you know, and the podcast is kind of going this whole time. Right?
Yeah.
We're having these great conversations, and we're talking about stuff, and we are learning things about all this lifestyle stuff along with you. I mean, as for those of anyone who's listened this whole time, I think you'll probably agree that you've heard us evolve just in the conversations that we're having
Yeah.
throughout even just this 1 year. We went on from there to meet Misty and Lee
Right.
in a very personal way.
Yeah, we started having we went to dinner and drinks with them a couple times, and then I think the first experience we had was just with him.
Well, that was just a matter of schedule. But
Yeah.
you know what? You know what I want to say about Misty and Lee? Is they're such good people. And one of the things, this is so silly, but it's the little things in this lifestyle that really stand out to you. We were going out to dinner with Misty and Lee one night early on. And this was like with no expectation of really play, just kind of getting to know them. And they were super patient with us
Yeah.
because we were newbies, and I think we went on like 3 or maybe 4 dates before anything started to happen.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
which is kind of funny. And I feel like a slut saying this, but like,
Mr. Snow feels like a slut.
but like,
That's
but
funny
like,
because usually I'm the slut in the relationship.
but like today, that just seems like three, really? Three? Anyway, it's not important. So,
You whore.
you whore. So we were going to go out to dinner.
Yeah.
And at that time, Misty had some medical stuff going on and she wasn't feeling like all that great. I think
yeah.
she'd had maybe a long day or something. And Lee said to her, I heard this later. Lee said to her, "Hey, they got a sitter. We have to go."
Yeah.
And that, I know it's just a silly little thing, but that to me says that this is a person who's considerate of other people.
Yeah.
And not that Misty isn't. I mean, she was completely on board with that. But like I should say them as a couple
Right.
are so considerate of other people. It's not just about them. And
well, they also just understand the reality of, I mean, they have family, they have kids, they
Right.
have lives and a lot of stuff going on as well. And so I think they very much can relate to this whole just scheduling nightmare.
right. And I was super grateful for that grace,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that consideration. And so that was something I was really thankful for. And we had a great time with them, and that did progress a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Lee did come over
Yeah.
and give me a hand, so to speak.
Yeah. He gave me a couple.
And then eventually we did make it work with the two of them,
Mm-hmm.
which was our first couple swap.
It was. Yep.
That was fun.
That was all in our new guest room.
All in our new guest room,
Our
slant porn studio, slant
It's served many purposes.
hotel room. So yeah, that was amazing. Had a great time. And I think looking back on that, I was really grateful to them for being aware that we were newbies. Like they knew this was the first time we were doing this.
Right.
And that can go any kind of way. You know,
Right.
it can go kind of sideways, but
Bitches be crazy, right?
bitches can be crazy.
Absolutely.
Um,
Well, but it's that whole concept of when you are new to this, and we even had this experience with our first time we played with a single male, things come up
right.
like with each other, you know, like you had some feelings about it, I had some feelings about it, and it just, but those are experiences and thoughts and feelings that would not otherwise have come up. Like you kind of have to have the experience in order to know how you're going to feel about things and know how you're going to perceive things or want things or whatever. So I think when you're engaging with a couple that doesn't have as much experience, you kind of have to be prepared for things to come up.
Yeah. And they were great about that. Both of them checked in on us, you know, are you okay? Is this okay? Is this what you guys want to do?
Yeah.
And that was great. And here again, the podcast just continues on. And we had our first conversation with Mr. and Mrs. N from the Vanilla to Vixen podcast.
Yeah. So I think you had started, I don't know how you came across them.
Well, to be honest with you, I don't either. I don't exactly know how I first discovered their podcast.
Because you discovered them first.
I did. And I discovered them early on. I was looking for lifestyle podcasts and I found a few, and theirs I really settled on. And the biggest thing that attracted me to it was that some of the other podcasts that I had listened to were focused on being sexy. They were focused on telling hot, sexy stories and all this stuff.
It's almost an erotic podcast more than a lifestyle
they
podcast.
were. And I'm okay with, I like a sexy story like anybody else. But what caught me with the Vanilla to Vixen podcast was that their conversations were so more community focused on the swinger community and their experiences with other people.
But they were much more relatable as people.
Much more relatable for us as people.
Absolutely. Because it's not that we can't put on the sexy piece, right? But we're just normal people.
Right.
Like we're just normal every day, like PTO parents.
Yeah.
Like,
So,
I
I was listening to them a lot, and I decided to reach out to them and ask if they would do an interview on our podcast. And at that time, we had never done an interview
No.
on the podcast. It was our first one.
Right.
we didn't even know how to do it. I mean, I frantically spent like a week or two trying to figure out
We're
just
sitting
how
next to each other,
to do
sharing a
it.
mic,
Yeah, it was terrible. But
which Mr. Snow has now become an amateur. We've gone from amateur porn star to amateur sound engineer.
yeah. Yeah. It's getting better. When I reached out to Mr. and Mrs. N and I sent them an email and I explained, hey, I love your show. It's been very influential for us.
Mm-hmm.
We would love to have you on our show.
Yeah.
I fully expected they would be like, meh, you know, because like we're nobody. Like we had at that time, like, I don't know, 6 episodes or something.
Yeah.
And they were really, really nice and said, we'd love to come on your show. And
that was really kind of a pivotal moment. Looking back on it, not realizing it until now, but like that was a pretty big.
It was kind of a big deal.
It was a big deal.
It was a big deal, you know, and you know, it's not like we're all like a famous or a big deal or anything like that. It's just that I was so appreciative that they were willing to take the time and have a conversation with us for our show and not even their own. That was something I was extremely grateful for and immediately terrified of.
Right.
Because all of a sudden I was going to have to figure out how to accomplish this technically,
right,
which I did not at the time know how to do. And obviously I wanted it to go well. And so it was just a full on panic up until we got started and we started talking with them and we were instantly comfortable with them.
They were so relatable. They were so kind. But they were just just very normal, real people.
Yeah.
And it was so clear.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes when people get into, I mean, maybe podcasting or amateur porn, maybe, but I mean, there's kind of this persona that is created. And we're just not those people. Like, we are the exact same people sitting on our couch having this conversation that we would be anywhere else.
Well, that's it.
Like,
you know,
anywhere else.
And I did wonder about that with Mr. and Mrs. N. You know, would they seem the same in a conversation as they do on their podcast? And I can 100% verify that they do. And that authenticity. So that's an important thing for us. And we've talked about that word from the very beginning with this, even in the Pornhub stuff that we did.
Absolutely. It was very authentic.
The idea of authentic was really critical for us.
There was no acting.
No, and none of it was fake.
No.
Like even in the Pornhub videos that we did, everything we did on video is stuff that we do all the time.
Yeah, there was really nothing that was not sincere about that.
No. And same thing with the podcast. And as we got to talk to Mr. and Mrs. N, that was an amazing conversation. And I really kind of, after that, you mentioned that being a pivotal moment. After that, I really felt like, wow, we're really doing this.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of more of a real thing now than it was just you and me talking to each other on the couch.
Right.
And I was so energized after that. And that led on to...
Well, we joined their Discord.
Yes, we did.
And that was its own experience because obviously they have their following and their listeners.
A huge following.
Yeah. And they have a club that they're associated with over there. And so we're learning more and more about like the characters of their podcast and of their club and the events that they have. And I remember, if I remember correctly, they have their Discord is huge. They have several channels. But they have like, what is it? The feeling left out. Like,
FOMO.
It's the FOMO channel. Yeah. And I felt like we were obviously, because we were physically not there, we couldn't go anyway, but we were a part of the FOMO channel. And
well, that was it. Like what their Discord did. First of all, I had never heard of Discord.
Oh no.
Until they came along, I'd never heard of it, but I was looking for a platform that we could use to interact with listeners.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, we had talked about we don't mess around with at all on Facebook with lifestyle stuff.
Right.
We just don't go there. Facebook is not where we want to go with all this. But we kind of looked at Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the problem with Twitter. that I had with it. X
X. I would
nowadays.
say it's X.
Yeah,
Thanks,
X,
Elon.
whatever. Okay. Yeah, that was a meaningful change. So the problem I had with it was when I would go in there, you'd open it up and the news feed or whatever would refresh to whatever the current posts were. And if in that same moment, if you hit the refresh button, 30 more posts would show up.
Yeah.
And if you hit the refresh button again, 30 more posts would show up. And I started to feel like, geez, if it's coming this fast, how can you possibly have a meaningful interaction with anybody? Because it would be like trying to have a meaningful conversation with a moving subway train. It's just, and it's gone, right? And it's on to the next thing. And it gave me anxiety, frankly.
Yeah.
Because I had this like feeling like, oh, geez, in order to make any kind of meaningful impact here, you must be posting every hour.
Well, it's a much more like, I mean, our podcast is called Scheduling Sin, right? And I don't need to schedule every 20 minutes to post something on Twitter. Like it's just not. Yeah,
I know. And I did use Twitter when we were doing our amateur porn thing a little bit to drive views, and it did work. I will say
that's
it did
why
work.
They changed it to X.
Maybe that's why. Yeah, you are the reason, Mrs. Snow. I'm sure.
Absolutely. What else would it be?
So we did use it a little bit, but I don't know. I just really wasn't connecting with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got on Discord with Vanilla the Vixen, and it was fun because I got a chance to actually interact with the characters from their show.
Yeah.
Like actually talk to Saucy and Busty and Mr. and Mrs. Foxy and Mr. Horny and all
Tina.
These and Tina and all these fun people that I'd heard on their show. And then that kind of led to us starting our Discord.
Right.
Mr. Horny, who runs the Vanilla Vixen Discord, was generous enough to take his time to start ours.
Right.
And he's still officially in charge of ours.
Right.
But that led to Discord.
Yeah. And that opened up a whole new world. And when we start again, we talk about where we were in January and where we are in November, but I'm like, I just want to go have sex. I don't want to I don't want to engage with people on a friendly level. I don't want to engage in relationships. I just want to go and like basically just have hookups, right? Like I don't need any emotional level of compatibility per se. Like you need some, right? But like
that was our initial perspective.
Right. It was very superficial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really about the sex.
It was really about just me getting it, right? You shake your head, but you're okay with. It really was. It was just very, very physical for me.
Yeah.
And sometimes I still struggle with that balance, but I think with the Discord, especially ours, because it was harder to engage with V2Vs because I didn't know them and
so the difference is between the two of us on this front is I travel for work.
Right.
And so I have these long drives in the car on a regular basis. They're 2 and 3 hours long. And so for me, podcasting is I listen to a bunch of podcasts.
Yeah.
And that's how I pass the time. So that's how I got to spend so much time getting to know Mr. and Mrs. M and V2V.
Didn't have that.
And you don't have that. So it was a difference in the way we connected on that.
Right. But the Discord really allowed me, because it was our show that it was connected to.
Right.
So I automatically kind of had some common theme there.
A little more connection to it. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's when I got to really kind of engage in some of these conversations and relationships. And it's been a lot of fun. And I've had some individual conversations with people and
some naughty individual conversations.
Hey, listen, it happens. That NSFW channel is pretty fun. But I mean, it really, again, like if you would have told me in January, like this is kind of where you're going to be, like you're going to start an amateur Pornhub account, you're going to shut that down, you're going to have a podcast, you're going to meet up with all these other people and have some random hookups, and you're going to engage in some things, and you're going to go to a hotel party, and it's like, what?
Yeah, no, we could never have seen it all coming. And we did eventually go to the hotel party.
We did.
And we met Alex and Joe, who we met through the Telegram leading up to the hotel party. And now they're members of the Discord community. we got to meet them, and they were phenomenal hosts. Like, they had a room at the hotel party. We scheduled late. We didn't get a room there, but they were so gracious to host us in their space during that time. And we had a phenomenal time with them, with and without our clothes on. Honestly, there was a moment,
Who knew?
and I didn't bring this up, and she made a joke at me because I didn't bring it up. So I'll bring it up now. At the end of that night, we had gone off and played together in a public playroom, you and I.
Yes.
And, well, actually, 2 public playrooms.
Who's counting?
Yeah. And we were kind of all done. So we were going back, and it was getting towards the end of the night. We go back to the hotel room, Alex and Joe's hotel room. And this is the kind of thing that happens at a place like this, which would never happen in any other part of organized society. But we go back.
Organized society, like we're in the,
like we're animals.
Yeah, right.
We go back to the hotel room. The door is wide open.
Yeah.
You and I walk in there.
Yeah.
And Alex, the male, is sitting on the couch, and Joe is laid out across the couch sucking his dick.
Yeah.
And we both just casually walk into the room and have a seat at the little table in the hotel room, and we're just kind of hanging out. And we're just watching and relaxing. And Joe is doing her magic. And at one point, she pulls her mouth off of Alex's cock, and she looks over at us, and she goes, "Oh, hey, guys."
And nobody flinches about this.
Oh,
Like,
it's
no
like,
one
hey.
is shocked or like, it's just,
These are my people.
yeah, well, yeah.
These are my people. So, they were phenomenal, and what an experience that was. And we learned a lot from that night, and we're going to talk more about some of that later, but we learned a ton from that night, and we've learned a ton from being friends with Alex and Joe.
Yeah.
That's added a lot to our lifestyle experience.
Well, it's that whole engaging in relationships, like actual friendships,
right.
on top of the idea of playing with people.
Right.
And my first instinct and all of that is like, just keep them 100% siloed and different, which I get, and that makes sense. And I'm still struggling with that some, but I think it's understanding how to do that in a way that is comfortable, how to do that in a way that's like not going to just cause different expectations and different I mean, there's just a lot of pieces that go into it that no one ever, again, until you have these experiences, you just don't know.
You just don't know. And the cool thing is, we have been, the theme of this conversation being gratitude is that we have been very fortunate in all of the people, including, our 2 single gentlemen that we have played with.
Yeah.
Misty and Lee, who our audience knows, Alex and Joe, who our audience will know soon, and several other people. They have all given us the grace to kind of learn.
Yes.
To
learn, explore, have very open, transparent conversations with.
Right. And to not be perfect with.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really important factor to think about in terms of the way we all treat each other in this lifestyle, and the way we take care of each other, is that we are not all going to be perfect all the time. A lot of us are encountering things we've never encountered before.
Yeah.
We're all very vulnerable. Even though we're super comfortable in our little Shinesty cloud orgy boxers, and we're like all having fun, and everybody seems very comfortable in the things that they're doing, a lot of people are taking some big leaps.
Well, and again, like, in what other environments can you be this vulnerable, transparent, not perfect, open, honest? I mean, like, honestly, like,
I can't think of
I mean,
any.
how many environments can you like have an experience that you're very vulnerable and you're doing all of these very intimate things, and then like the next day have a very open, honest conversation about it in almost a critiquing or just a very like open, honest way.
Yeah, and maybe a little bit of a hard conversation. But I think being able to have these conversations, even though there's going to be some emotions attached to it, um, are really important. And I think we all grow a lot from it.
Yes.
And we've been very lucky to have those opportunities as we have gone. And now you fast forward to now,
Right.
we have through our Discord and through more conversations with Mr. and Mrs. N, we are planning a trip to the UK
Yes.
in February of 2024
Yes.
to go to Liberty Elite
Yes.
with Mr. and Mrs. N
Right.
and Tina Von Teese and Gigi
Yes.
and the
Gav.
Hookie Monster and Gav and all of these fun people who we have gotten to know through the Discord.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how excited I am to meet all of these people
I know.
because we've gotten to know them from half a world away
Right.
through this silly podcast
and
of
what's
us
crazy
talking to
about
each other on the couch.
I know, and listening to them, but them listening to us. But like, I would have no qualms about like reaching out to them and saying, "Hey, can you help me with this, or can you do this?" And
Right.
in a very non-sexual way. But like, I just feel like we're already like family to some degree.
Right. So it's fascinating. If you go all the way back to January 1 of this year,
Yeah.
we had not done any of this. We didn't have a Pornhub account.
Right.
We had gone to a club 3 times, played with other people in that club a little bit once.
Right.
That's it. That's the limit of everything we had done up until that point. And at that time, our philosophy towards swinging and the lifestyle was, like you said, it was in a lot of ways, it was very superficial. It was sport fucking. It was just,
Yeah.
we didn't really want deep connections. We didn't really want to kind of mix the streams with people that we know. Like we were trying to keep it very, very on the surface.
Right. Because at the time, my thought about it, my belief about it, maybe, and this is sometimes where I still personally struggle sometimes, but I don't have the bandwidth.
Yeah.
I don't have the bandwidth to engage in these very intimate relationships.
It's time consuming.
It's very time consuming, and I don't have a lot of time.
Right.
Now, I mean, the reality is we all have more time than we think. You know, it's all about prioritization. But I just, in my head, when you think about it, it's like I have a family. I have just a household to keep up. I have a job. I have a lot of other things that I'm involved with. I don't have the bandwidth.
Right.
And I didn't want to set myself up to kind of be committed to trying to nurse this. Do you know what I mean? Like just engage and
But
put more into it.
What has availed itself though through the Discord, and the fact that we do the podcast, I think really helps. But you are able to kind of come into this community and chat and talk and connect, and then disconnect.
Right.
And yet
It's very easy to pick up and put down.
it is.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing about the Discord, and this is something that this is a really, really important key factor for me and the Discord. When it comes to Twitter or any of these other social media sites, I have this like anxiety that if you're not posting or active, very active, everybody's just going to die. It's going to die.
Well, you're irrelevant.
Everybody's going to go away.
Yeah.
The Discord is an entirely different animal
Yeah.
in that it is they call them servers. It is a dedicated space that is just for this community.
Right.
And if you take a week and you go away and you come back, it's more like your neighborhood bar
Yeah.
than it is a Twitter or something like that.
Right.
It is it's cheers. Everybody knows your name. You know, you show up and the folks are still there. And those conversations are happening, and you can choose to kind of be involved on a given day or not, you know? But the Discord really was critical for me in kind of centralizing that community and connecting with those people because we don't have the opportunity to go to a club every weekend
Right.
and have those have that in person.
Right.
We don't have that opportunity.
Right.
So that's what the Discord is for us. And at last count, I think there were like 60 people in it.
Right. And I think it's, looking back and really, what have I learned? What am I grateful for? Part of it is just kind of learning where I want to put my effort. And learning where am I getting the most bang for my buck? Ha ha
Yeah.
ha. But but honestly, engaging in conversations on the Discord with people that I know and that listen to the show, and we kind of have a lot of things that we can relate to one another about, is much more fulfilling than just posting stuff on Pornhub,
It is.
which I think is
because
part
you
of
get
the reason.
you get a lot more back from
Well,
it.
yeah, and so it's and again, you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know until you do things, and so we did it, and so I'm very grateful for having the opportunity to kind of do those things, but also kind of where we are now with it,
Right.
that we've gotten from it.
Right. Yes. It has been, it's a world of difference
It is.
now compared to where we started.
Right.
And I look, sometimes at like the little stats on our podcast hosting service, and it lists something like 40 countries
Yeah.
that we have downloads in.
Yeah.
This idea that our little conversations here on the couch
Right.
have made it around the world.
Yeah.
We've made it onto the top whatever charts in Australia,
Mm-hmm.
in Germany, in the UK. I never expected that.
Right.
It
is overwhelming. It's humbling. It's just a lot.
is.
Yeah.
It is. But it is something that has added a lot to our lives.
Yes, it has. And it's added a lot to our relationship.
It has.
Yeah.
And it is something that without all of this experience, we would never have had this level of connection. Not that I don't mean that our marriage and stuff wasn't solid before now, but this has just been a whole dimension that
Right.
it's a new dimension to everything.
Well, it goes back to that. We've said this before. Like, we thought we were having good sex then, right? We thought we had a really good marriage then, right? But it's like a whole new level. Yeah.
Yeah. And it has given us something to do together.
Yeah.
And that's been really fun. And I look back at like this is something I'm grateful for, and this is a silly thing. We were at the hotel takeover and it happened, I don't know, 2 or 3, maybe 4 times, where someone was like, Mrs. Snow, and then comes running over to talk to you.
Yeah. My little fandom.
and I got to see the surprise and the reaction on your face.
Yeah.
When that happened.
Well, and I feel like every time you get an email that, you have someone that, and we don't get a ton of them, but, when a listener emails and says, hey, I've really enjoyed listening to you guys, and we really appreciate what you're talking about, and it's really started conversations in our own relationship, and that's amazing.
Yeah,
like
it
how
does.
how does us literally sitting on our couch surrounded by all of our kids' toys and shit, like the conversations that we have potentially started some really good, honest conversations with people in their marriages or in their relationships. Like, that's pretty amazing.
It is. And that kind of, and maybe this is a good place to leave this. So I've been having some conversations with some people about like the growth of the show and continuing the show and continuing what it is we're doing here. And a lot of this has to do with, well, where do you want to go? Like, what constitutes success?
Yeah.
And we have never, because we never had a plan for this, and we still kind of don't.
Right.
There isn't like a clear definition of what success means. Does it mean, more thousands of listeners? Does it mean, is it monetization?
We never thought, let's quit our jobs and do a podcast full time. Never. No.
And that's still not what we're after.
No.
But I think what we're kind of figuring out is that for us, success is that community piece and that interaction piece. And that's kind of where I'm hoping that the website will come into play.
Yeah.
www.schedulingsin.com.
Yes, we took some photos this morning. If you're on our Discord, you can see them.
They're in the Discord.
Which
You're
I've gotten
missing out.
I'm looking online, and I see some people that we have one of our favorites have already voted on which ones that they like.
So the idea with the website is that, yeah, I mean, you'll be able to find the podcast episodes there, but we're also going to be doing some blogging.
Yeah.
And what I'm really excited for, and we've got some of this kind of maybe in the works, our Scheduling Sin community is going to start creating some of their own content.
Yeah, that's going to be really fun.
And so we're going to start having, I hope, we're working towards this. We're going to have an opportunity for members of the Scheduling Sin community and listeners. And when I say members, I don't mean like any kind of specific membership. I just mean listeners who have an opportunity to submit their own podcasts.
Right. Or interviews or
if you record a conversation that maybe you and your spouse or you and your girlfriend or you and a play partner or you and someone interesting have, send it to us.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about editing. We can take care of editing. We'll have some notes on the website about tips related to recording quality and so forth. And we're going to start, hopefully, putting those things out as a community content section.
Mm-hmm.
Because, again, a lot of what we have learned has come from all of you.
Right.
And all of you have a lot to share, and we want to be a conduit for that.
We do.
Same thing with the website and the blog. We have some folks, one person in particular, who shall remain nameless today, who threatens to blog. We might start having some of his content on the website. So that's what we're kind of trying to grow. And if you have an interest in that, if you have an interest in doing some sort of amateur podcasting of your own,
mm-hmm.
if you have an interest in blogging, if you have an interest in coming on the show with us, we want to hear from you. You can email us at snowmilf@yahoo.com.
Yeah.
Or just join the Discord and talk to us direct.
Right.
Either way. And also, now I have to remember this part, there is also a contact page on schedulingsin.com.
There's lots of ways to talk to us.
Lots of ways to talk to us. So we definitely want to hear from you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's
our gratitude episode.
That's our gratitude episode.
So as we kind of come to a close, what are you most grateful for in this whole journey?
Hands down, the people we've met.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what it is. I've met a lot of people in a lot of contexts that are not related to this, that are perfectly nice people. But the people that I have met through this lifestyle and through swinging are people that I almost immediately feel as though I have a 10-year relationship with.
Yeah.
Because the bullshit is all out of the way.
Oh, yeah.
Usually the pants are out of the way.
Well, we got to get rid of barriers. So.
We got to get rid of barriers. We should all talk naked. But I look back to the, so it is funny, and this is kind of an interesting idea to me, and I know I've said this now before, sex itself is becoming a lower and lower and lower priority to me
mm-hmm.
in the lifestyle. It is definitely not something I don't want. It's not something I'm against by any stretch, but it's not the reason. Like, for example, the reason we're going to Liberty Elite in the UK is not to have sex in the UK. I hope that happens. But
I mean, we've already done that, right?
The reason we're going there is because we want to meet all these fun people.
We've created these amazing relationships with these people.
And I'm so grateful for that. We have met incredible people.
Mm-hmm.
And what about you?
I mean, I definitely echo that, but I think for me, I have been so grateful for us.
Yeah.
I've been grateful for you in that, I mean, you've been my person since day one. Like, I mean, I've been doodling your name since I was 15, right? But like, I think watching you, for lack of a better word, blossom and really just, you are so, um, watching you just come alive when you talk about this and really just get so excited, and I can just see your creative juices flowing when it comes to us taking pictures and you being creative with the podcast and the website and 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 just kind of watching that part of you kind of come alive and just get so excited and so engaged and just enjoy it. Like sincerely, truly enjoy all of it. And you've said this a couple times. These are your people. Like you really feel at home. You really feel like this is kind of opening a part of you that hadn't really had an opportunity to figure it out, and you kind of finding your way and you kind of saying, "Wow, this is really what I feel like I've been missing and not having." And so being able to watch that and being a part of that, um, and being supportive of that has just been something I've been incredibly grateful to watch.
Wow. Now I have all the feels.
Like holding back tears.
Yeah. I mean, who would have thought? Who would have thought that
Who would have thought that
11 months
a
ago we
board
would not
of
have done any of
account would turn to
this?
this?
But
Oh,
here we are. And truly, I know everybody says this, and I guess it's usually for ads, maybe, but like, I don't know. But like, we really do owe a lot of this to everybody who's listening right now. It's the folks that have listened, it's the folks that have messaged us, it's the folks that we have had fun with. It's all of that is why we're still doing this.
yeah,
And it's why we'll keep doing it.
yeah. And why we will have just the most amazing time in February. I'm so excited. I can't like
Yeah.
it's gonna be so much fun.
It's going to be so much fun.
I
It's
feel
gonna
like
be so
we're
much
just gonna
fun.
laugh until our cheeks hurt, I think.
I think you're right about that.
Yeah. So with that being said, we wish you guys the most amazing, restful holiday, and we hope that you um take some time to be reflective and share some gratitude with your people, whoever they are.
Yeah, and actually, as a fun aside, we'll try this. I don't know if it'll work, but we'll try it. Share with us what you're grateful for. Share with us
Yeah.
what has gone well for you, what was meaningful for you, and maybe we'll read some of those next time we do one of these.
Yeah.
We'll put
that
it
would
out
be
as
great.
a little gratitude bonus episode.
Maybe we'll have a gratitude part on our website.
That would be actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's all for now.
That's all for now. I
But-
guess we'll have to take advantage of Mr. Snow's pumpkin spice undies he's wearing. So festive.
Thank you for listening.
Bye. We want to hear from you. Email us at snowmilf@yahoo.com. That's SNOMILF@yahoo.com. You can also join us on our Discord and have some fun interactive conversations with us. The link is in the show notes. Talk to you soon.
Okay.
Get your put your dick away.
Why?
Don't ask why like you don't know.
I don't know. Do you not like looking at it?
Don't. This is not about what I like to look at it. Stop doing your eyes like that. Just put your dick away.